harassment and how difficult it was for her to actually come out and say it. That's coming up after the break. Welcome back to We the People. In this last segment, in a society where there is undoubtedly institutionalized sexism, should there still be so much ambiguity and controversy around sexual harassment? Before we take final comments from our panelists, let's hear from the audience.
I wanted to put up that the question came up that why she took so long to come up with the whole thing. So since females are taken emotional and there's this saturation point, maybe it was that saturation point to come up that actually she felt no, now I can't take it more. Maybe it was that. So how about the social awkwardness that she's anyway facing now, but earlier she wasn't prepared to face it?
I mean, that there is a point to that, but not necessarily, though a possibility certainly. Yes.
I would just like to share this experience. There were a couple of my ex-colleagues in my ex-organization who went through sexual harassment from my chairman, and a couple of them did it mutually, and finally then they raised a voice, that we don't...
What do you mean did it mutually?
They came and they accepted to me saying that, initially it was a mutual consent. We wanted to climb up the ladder. But then the problem came to people like us who didn't want to do it.
So you believe that does happen?
It does happen, and I think when we talk about harassment, I think harassment is to people like us who don't want to do it. Because then we fall under that bracket, oh, for women it's easy if they want to climb up the ladder, they're ready to go this way.
Let's park that thought, because that's the one that comes up the most often in these debates around harassment. Yes.
I wanted to ask, are we saying it's okay to have a relationship at a workplace if the relationship is going to end in a marriage, but if it ends otherwise we have an issue with it?
You want to add to that?
Yeah, because I'm working in an organization where I've seen people getting married, so I don't think...
And you think that's a problem?
No, that's not a problem.
I had to ask, we are talking here about people where people can come up and say it's sexual harassment. What about people who don't come up? There are situations where women won't come up with the fear that it's their job at stake, their family reputation at stake, everything at stake. What about those women? Why aren't we talking about that?
I think we can't underline enough how difficult it can be actually for women to come out and complain. Let's hear from somebody who actually went through this, who's behind this screen talking to us. आप अगर मेरी आवाज सुन पा रही हैं तो आप बताएंगे यहाँ लोगों को कि आपने कई वर्षों तक कोशिश की सेक्सुअल हैरेसमेंट की कंप्लेंट फाइल करने की, और कितना मुश्किल था आपके लिए करना?
ये इंसिडेंट मेरे साथ 2003 में हुआ था। जो मेरे साथ सेक्सुअल हैरेसमेंट हुआ था, मेंटली हैरेसमेंट हुई थी मेरी। कंप्लेंट मैंने करी थी, मैनेजमेंट को करी थी, उसके बाद पुलिस स्टेशन भी गई, मैं कोर्ट को अप्रोच करा, वहाँ से एफआईआर कराई। 3 साल की लंबी लड़ाई के बावजूद कोई रिजल्ट नहीं निकला। अपनी फ्यूचर को देखते हुए, सोसाइटी को देखते हुए मुझे अपना वहीं पे ब्रेकअप करना पड़ा, विड्रॉल करना पड़ा।
तो आपने अपनी कंप्लेंट विड्रॉ की? 3 साल के बाद आपने अपनी कंप्लेंट विड्रॉ की?
कोई रिजल्ट नहीं निकला। मुझे अपनी आगे फैमिली के सपोर्ट नहीं हो रही थी कि आगे फ्यूचर देखना था। शादी करनी होती है एक लड़की को, आगे सोसाइटी में स्टैंड करना होता है, तो इस वजह से कुछ रिजल्ट नहीं निकल पा रहा था। और काफ़ी 3 साल तक काफ़ी मैंने स्ट्रगल करी थी।
अब आप उसी जगह काम करते हैं कि कहीं और?
नहीं, मैं अभी काम नहीं कर रही हूँ इस वजह से कहीं नहीं।
और आप कह रहे हैं कि आपकी अपनी फैमिली ने आपसे वो कंप्लेंट विड्रॉ करवाई?
फैमिली ने विड्रॉ नहीं कराई थी, लेकिन ये था कि 3 साल तक जब कोई रिजल्ट नहीं निकल रहा था तो एक होता है कि परेशान हो जाती है फैमिली भी आंसर देते हुए, सोसाइटी को सबको पता भी चलता है कि कोर्ट में केस है और पुलिस घर आती है, मैनेजमेंट के बंदे आते हैं घर में, अप्रोच करते हैं, लोगों को पता लगता है कि इनकी घर के।
और आज आप इसलिए शर्मा रही हैं आगे आने से क्योंकि आपको लगता है कि आदमी के बजाय आपको जज किया जाएगा?
हाँ, यू आर राइट।
And this is probably the struggle of women who don't actually hit the headlines. Nilanjana.
I think the fear of being judged is a huge one, even for women who apparently have, the power or the education or the ability to complain. Which is why one of the reasons why crossing boundaries at work is always difficult. I mean, I'm really not in favor of legislating relationships completely out of the office. It's not just the sexual relationships or the romantic relationships, but you'd end up by legislating friendships out. But at the same point of time, it's coming down to two things. It's coming down to consent, it's coming down to power. And even today, you know, I mean, we were hearing about women's attitudes shifting and changing. But I don't think they've shifted and changed it so much that the fear of being judged has been eradicated.
Hasn't gone away at all. But there's somebody here who had a question on misuse. Just last question.
Yes, this is because of the way the dowry thing has been misused so much by women.
Do you really believe that? It still remains the case that most women cannot come out and take on the system of dowry. But anyway, quickly.
No, I just know that a lot of dowry things have been misused. Likewise, this clause can also be misused by a few people.
Priya, there's now a provision in the draft that if the complaint is found to be false, does the woman get penalized?
Yes, she does. Absolutely does. But you know, Barkha, taking on from the lady, it's very unfortunate to what has happened with her. And you know, this is exactly what we are trying to point out, that you need to have confidentiality aspect well in place. You need to have a support system for women like this within the society, in their own organization. And look at those women who are working daily wages. I mean, they are compelled to sleep with the thekedar or give him their full, you know, it's not mutual, it can never be mutual.
And the organized sector is invisible in the English media at least.
Absolutely, and they have to take back half the salary. They, even after having given consent to his overtures, they take back only half the salary because they have to feed young children at home.
And those are the stories that don't get told. Perhaps quick last thoughts winding down on the show.
Well, you know, there's a huge section which is traditional and institutionalized for hundreds of years. I mean, it's not something that we in cities and all actually come to know. There's a whole scenario at the back which is not even being touched by legislature or by anything else that any NGO might be doing. And that is the tragedy of this country. Not the fact that we are debating this for urban women and for women who might raise a voice.
But not that the struggles of urban women are to be diminished because they don't go through the same struggles.
But the tragedy is far greater in the areas that we actually don't know anything about.
Okay, I'm really out of time. Urvashi, just wrap this for us.
That kind of statement that we've just heard reminds us how tragically important it is to make the workplace safe and secure for women. And the problem doesn't go away by saying people misuse the law, women use their sexuality to get ahead. It's a very, very serious problem, and it really needs to be addressed.
And I think it's safe to end with that although there might be aberrations, the story we just heard is actually the average woman's story. And that's the story that is the story that we need perhaps to focus more on with all its complexity.
And I think, you know, things are changing for women, but those changes should not disadvantage women. That's what we need to think. Of course things are changing, but that doesn't mean that those changes should now put women in a disadvantaged position. And that's what we need to think about. Not that we can legislate relationships. Women should be able to do the kinds of things that men have been able to do.
Well, I guess in the end, it's about that famous word called choice. And whether when you make that choice, you are actually making a free choice. And whether your work environment enables you to make a free choice. We'll have to leave it there. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.